There is a voice, yes, a voice inside you that still whispers, "This is not the end. I don't know what you've lost. I don't know the weight you've been carrying, the silent battles you've fought when nobody else was watching. But I came to tell you something eternal. God is not finished with you yet. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are not forgotten." Some of you feel like your life is a puzzle with missing pieces, and no matter how hard you try, nothing fits. But listen to me now, the author of your story has not laid down his pen. Oh yes, there were tears. Oh yes, there were mistakes. But your pain is not a period. It's just a pause. You see a chest, but he sees beauty rising. You see a dead end, but he sees a detour to destiny. You feel stuck, but he's preparing something beyond your sight. You may have buried your dreams. You may have said, "It's over." But heaven never agreed with your surrender. There's still breath in your lungs. That means there's still a purpose. There's still fire in your soul, even if it feels like only a flicker. Let me tell you this, precious soul, if you could see what's ahead, you'd rise from that floor right now. You'd wipe your tears and square your shoulders. You'd say, "I was born for more than this." Because it's true, you were. The delay is not denial. The silence is not absence. The storm is not punishment. It's preparation. You are in process. You are in progress. And he is not finished. He's still painting the canvas. He's still carving the diamond. He's still writing the song. And when the music plays again, you'll dance with a joy you've never known. God is not finished with you yet. There are moments in life when everything feels silent, when prayers seem unanswered, dreams seem delayed, and you start to wonder if your story has come to an unexpected end. You look around and it feels like everyone else is moving forward, achieving, living, while you feel stuck in the same place, circling the same struggles, carrying the same disappointments. But deep in that stillness, a gentle voice keeps whispering, "This is not the end. You are still breathing." That in itself is proof, not just of existence, but of purpose. Because if God were done with you, you would not be here. The breath in your lungs is not just survival. It is evidence. Evidence that your journey is still unfolding. Evidence that the divine hand that began a good work in you has not let go. Sometimes, it's easy to believe the lie that says you've missed your chance, that too much time has passed, that your mistakes have disqualified you. But the truth is, God doesn't consult your past to define your future. The delay you're experiencing isn't a denial. It's a divine pause. A sacred moment of preparation, molding, reshaping. You may not understand it now, but that doesn't make it meaningless. We often measure our lives by what we can see: the job, the relationship, the success, the applause. But the greatest works of God begin in silence, in the dark, in hidden places. A seed planted under the soil shows no sign of growth for a long time. But it is not dead, it is developing, and so are you. Even if you feel buried by failure, by fear, by fatigue, you are not finished. There is something still forming inside you. Resilience, wisdom, faith, courage. These things are not built in comfort, they are born in pressure. And sometimes the pressure feels unbearable. But pressure is also how diamonds are made. And you, beloved soul, are not being crushed. You are being formed. Yes, there are chapters in your life that were painful. There were pages you wish you could tear out. But even those, especially those, are being used. Nothing is wasted in the hands of God. He weaves everything, the joy and the sorrow, the failure and the breakthrough, into the masterpiece he's writing with your life. When you don't see the ending, it's easy to lose hope. But remember this, just because you don't see the next step, doesn't mean there isn't one. Just because you feel forgotten, doesn't mean you are. God is still working behind the scenes, orchestrating details you can't even imagine yet. What feels like silence may actually be strategy. What feels like stillness may be sacred preparation. There is a purpose for the path you're on, even if you don't yet understand it. Don't confuse silence with absence. Don't mistake waiting for wasting. The Creator who made the heavens and the earth didn't rush anything. And He's not rushing you. You may feel tired. You may feel like quitting. But if you listen closely, your spirit still knows this can't be how it ends. There's something more. You were made for something greater, something lasting, something eternal. And God is still shaping that future with His own hands. Your pain is a pause, not the end. Pain can feel final when you're in the middle of it. When the weight of disappointment, betrayal, or loss presses so heavily on your chest, it's hard to believe there's anything beyond it. You start to think that maybe this is it. Maybe life has played its best cards, and everything after this is just survival. It's hard to imagine laughter again, peace again, joy again. The pain screams louder than hope, louder than truth, louder than the still, small voice that once comforted you. But your pain, no matter how deep or how long it has lasted, is not the end of your story. It's a pause A holy pause, a place where the narrative slows down, where the colors dim, where even your voice may go silent, but the author is still present. The page is not torn. The story is not over. This chapter, even if it is soaked in tears, still belongs within the greater masterpiece. So often we want to skip the painful parts. We want to fast forward through the sorrow, to bypass the lonely nights, the broken friendships, the unanswered questions. But the truth is, some of the most defining transformations take place in the pause. Growth doesn't always come in the motion. Sometimes it is in the stillness, in the ache, in the quiet that we are being changed the most. Pain has a way of making everything feel uncertain. It blurs the vision. It clouds judgment. It makes you question your identity, your worth, your purpose. But pain is not a verdict. It's a season. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. It means something mattered enough to hurt, and anything that matters that much, anything that deep, has the potential to carry meaning, healing, and transformation. There are some lessons that joy cannot teach. There are some depths that only sorrow can uncover. There are parts of your soul that only pain can reach. And while that truth is hard to accept, it is often in the breaking that the light comes in. Like stained glass shattered and rearranged, your life can become something even more beautiful, even more meaningful, even more honest because of what you've walked through. You are not stuck here. The ache you feel is not your forever. You may be in the valley, but valleys are not destinations. They are passages. And yes, the passage is dark, it is narrow, it is lonely. But you are still moving. Even if you can't feel the progress, something in you is changing. Your endurance is deepening. Your empathy is expanding. Your faith, however flickering, is growing stronger than you know. You may not realize it, but in this pause you are being prepared. Not punished, not abandoned. Prepared. Prepared for new strength. Prepared for new purpose. Prepared to carry what comes next with wisdom and grace. Sometimes the breaking of your heart is the making of your spirit. So don't mark this moment as the ending. Don't put a period where only a comma belongs. This is not your conclusion. It is the space between the verses. The moment in the music when the note is held suspended in air, before the melody continues. The silence before the song rises again. The night before the dawn. The winter before the bloom. Your pain may be loud right now. It may be all you can hear, but it is not the only voice in your story. It is not the final word. And though it hurts, deeply, truly, there is more ahead than you can see right now. Heaven never agreed with your surrender. There are moments in life when you feel like you've given everything you have, and still, it's not enough. You've prayed the prayers, taken the steps, fought the battles, and yet the breakthrough didn't come when you expected. The doors stayed shut. The healing didn't arrive. The silence lingered longer than your strength could hold. And somewhere along the way, you whispered a quiet surrender. Not because you didn't care, but because you were tired. So tired, you started to lower your expectations, silenced your dreams, stopped praying with passion. You convinced yourself maybe you were asking for too much. Maybe you weren't chosen after all. Maybe your dream belonged to someone else. Maybe you misheard, misunderstood, or misstepped. That moment, whether loud or silent, was your surrender. Not always dramatic. Sometimes it happens softly, not in screams but in silence, not in anger but in numbness. But even in your giving up, even in your letting go, heaven never agreed. The author of your purpose didn't erase your name from the pages of destiny. The creator of your calling didn't cancel his plans when you stopped believing in them. Divine intention is not so fragile that it collapses under the weight of your weariness. Heaven knew the depth of your despair. Heaven understood the cracks in your heart, the tears you cried when no one else knew. And still, heaven never agreed that it was over. The angels didn't fold their wings. The plans of God weren't shredded because you were human enough to want to quit. You were never expected to be perfect. You were never asked to carry the weight of your own purpose alone. Even your surrender was seen, not as failure but as fatigue. Not as rebellion, but as the moment you needed rest. And in that moment, when you laid it down, not in defiance, but in exhaustion, heaven still waited. Heaven still believed. The divine doesn't panic when you do. God doesn't abandon the process because you faltered under pressure. The hands that shaped you in the womb, the voice that called you by name, the breath that gave your life, those were never dependent on your strength. They are faithful even when you are not. They are patient even when you are frustrated. They are committed even when you feel like walking away. That dream inside of you, that calling you thought had expired, that purpose you believed had passed you by, it's not dead, it's sleeping. And the same voice that called Lazarus from the tomb can awaken what you thought was gone. Heaven does not sign off on your surrender. Heaven waits for resurrection. There are dreams inside you that still have breath. There are gifts you haven't used yet, songs you haven't sung yet, lives you haven't touched yet. And even when you gave up, they didn't vanish, because heaven held them safe, guarded, preserved, waiting for the moment when your strength would return, when your hope would flicker again, when your spirit would be ready to rise, not in your own power, but in grace. You thought it was over, but heaven never said so. You thought it was finished, but God never declared the final word. You thought your surrender was the closing chapter, but heaven still held the pen, still held the plan, still held the promise. And the promise doesn't depend on your perfection. It rests on divine faithfulness that does not waver, even when you do. There's still purpose in your breath. Sometimes life can press so hard against your chest that even breathing feels like effort. You wake up and wonder why. You go through the motions, smile when you're supposed to, speak when you must, but inside, something feels hollow. The weight of disappointment, loss, and unanswered prayers can leave you questioning your value, your direction, your reason for being here. But the very fact that you are breathing, right now, is proof that your purpose has not expired. Purpose isn't proven by applause. It's not measured by position, wealth, or recognition. Purpose is woven into the very fabric of who you are, and as long as you draw breath, it still lives within you. Even in your quietest, weakest moments, purpose is present. Not loud, not demanding, but constant, like a heartbeat. Like breath, gentle but essential. You may not see the fruit of your life right now. You may feel like your efforts are invisible, your kindness unnoticed, your sacrifices forgotten. But there are seeds you've planted that are still growing in silence. Every time you chose compassion instead of bitterness, every time you got up when you felt like staying down, every time you offered love in a world that felt cold. Those moments mattered. They still matter. Your existence is not random. It's intentional. You are not here by accident or coincidence. You were crafted by design, placed in this time, in this place, for a reason. Your breath is not wasted air. It carries potential. It carries influence. It carries the sound of someone who still has something to give. You may think your purpose is too small to matter, but there is no such thing as small in the hands of God. A kind word, a listening ear, a helping hand. These are not minor. These are life-giving. You don't have to be famous to be impactful. You don't have to be celebrated to be significant. The purpose within you doesn't need a stage. It only needs your willingness. Even if you've failed, even if you've fallen short, even if you've walked away from everything you once believed in, purpose still remains. You are not defined by your detours. You are not disqualified by your doubts. The breath in your lungs is mercy. It's a signal that grace has not given up on you. There are lives you've touched that you don't even know about. Words you've spoken that someone still carries. Smiles you've given that lifted someone's heavy spirit. You matter more than you think. The world may not tell you that, but the breath in your lungs testifies to it. Your journey may not look the way you imagined. The path may have taken turns you never saw coming. But detours don't destroy purpose. Delays don't delete calling. As long as you are here, your presence carries the power to affect, to heal, to change the atmosphere around you. Some days, just breathing is an act of courage. And even that, especially that, is purpose in motion. You are carrying something sacred, even when you can't see it. The fire might feel like it's down to embers, but it's not out. A single breath can fan the flame again. You don't need all the answers right now. You don't need to know how everything will unfold. But trust this. Your breath means there is still work to do. Not in striving, but in simply showing up. Loving, trying, hoping, choosing to believe that your life still carries meaning, even when the world grows loud with doubt. The storm is preparation, not punishment. When life becomes turbulent, when everything familiar begins to shake, when relationships fall apart, when dreams shatter, it's easy to feel like you're being punished. You look at others who seem to be sailing calmly, while your world feels like it's crashing down around you. The storm rages, and you begin to question what you did wrong. Why now? Why this? Why me? But storms are not always signs of judgment. Sometimes they are classrooms. Sometimes they are construction sites. Sometimes they are sacred spaces where transformation begins. In the midst of chaos, it's hard to see clearly. Pain has a way of clouding vision. But what feels like destruction can actually be divine preparation. The shaking is not meant to tear you apart. It's meant to reveal what can't be shaken. Storms strip away the surface so that what's buried deep can rise to the top. They reveal strength you didn't know you had. They expose roots, some broken, some still strong, and give you a chance to rebuild, firmer and truer than before. Preparation doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like confusion, questions, or even retreat. But beneath the surface, something powerful is forming. Like a tree during winter, There may be no signs of growth on the outside, but the roots are digging deeper, anchoring themselves for the coming bloom. You may not feel stronger, you may not see the lesson, but you are being prepared to carry something greater. A storm teaches you how to trust beyond what you see. It teaches you to listen, not just with your ears but with your spirit. It brings you to the end of yourself, not to break you, but to show you that you were never meant to survive on your own strength. That's not punishment. That's positioning. It's divine realignment. It's the undoing of all that isn't meant to last, so that what truly matters can be built in its place. There's something about the wind, the waves, the wildness of it all that makes you reevaluate everything, what you cling to, what you believe. You are when the noise of success or comfort is gone. And in that quiet, painful clarity, a new identity begins to emerge. Not based on achievement but on endurance, not rooted in public victories but in private resilience. The greatest leaders, the deepest souls, the most compassionate hearts. Most of them were shaped in storms, not in ease, not in applause, but in moments when they had to walk through fire, through loss, through loneliness. Their preparation wasn't pretty. It wasn't polished. But it was powerful. And the same is true for you. There's a version of you that can only be revealed in the wind and the waves. There's a depth you're being called into that cannot be reached on calm waters. The storm doesn't disqualify you. It defines you. It clarifies your calling. It strengthens your character. It breaks what needs to be broken and fortifies what needs to be strengthened. You might be tired. You might feel like you're barely holding on. But even now, something holy is happening. The storm is teaching your heart to lean, to listen, to surrender control, to find peace in the presence, not in the outcome. Because true strength isn't found in the absence of storms. It's found in standing while the storm still rages, knowing it is shaping you for something more. You are in process. Trust it. There is a quiet pressure in the world to be complete, to have everything figured out, to arrive at some invisible destination where all the questions are answered and all the pieces fall perfectly into place. But life doesn't work like that. Growth is not instant. Healing is not linear. Becoming who you're meant to be takes time, and you are not late, lost, or lacking. You are in process. And the process is holy. We often get discouraged because we're too focused on the finished product, and not the transformation taking place along the way. We compare ourselves to others who look like they've made it, forgetting that everyone is walking through a process we can't fully see. The truth is, no one wakes up whole overnight. No heart is mended in a moment. No purpose is perfected in a single decision. The most meaningful things in life are formed slowly, layer by layer, moment by moment. It's easy to get frustrated in the middle. The middle feels messy. It feels unclear. It feels like standing between who you were and who you want to become, and not being either. But the middle is where the shaping happens. The middle is where your faith deepens, where your character forms, where your identity begins to solidify. Not in who the world says you are, but in who you are becoming through the struggle, through the stillness, through the stretching. You may not feel like you're making progress, but every small choice you make to rise again, to try again, to believe again, those choices are building something stronger within you. The process is not about perfection. It's about perseverance. It's about showing up again and again, even when you feel like you're not enough, even when you can't see the outcome. Trust that something is happening beneath the surface. There is value in the unseen progress. Roots grow downward before fruit appears. Foundations are built long before walls are raised. What no one sees today is what sustains what everyone will see tomorrow. And sometimes the very reason things feel slow is because the foundation needs to be deep enough to carry what's coming. Trust that delay is not denial, it's preparation, it's care, it's intentional. The process doesn't ignore your pain. It doesn't dismiss your doubts. It makes room for them. It holds them without shame. You can be in process and still feel unsure. You can be in process and still struggle. You can be in process and still be valuable, still be loved, still be chosen. Because progress doesn't mean constant strength. It means movement. Even when it's slow. Even when it's silent. Even when you can't feel it. Some of the most beautiful transformations happen in the dark. The caterpillar doesn't know it's becoming a butterfly while it's inside the cocoon. All it knows is that it's changing, that everything it was is being undone. But what feels like an ending is actually the beginning of something new, something higher, something greater. You are in that place now, in between what was and what will be, and it is okay not to have it all together. Give yourself grace to be unfinished. Give yourself permission to grow. Trust that the process is not wasting your time. It's building you, teaching you, stretching you into who you are always meant to become. Trust it even when you don't understand it. Trust it even when it feels too slow. a trust that nothing is wasted. Not your tears, not your trials, not your time. All of it is part of the process that is shaping a life far more meaningful than anything you could have scripted on your own. You are not what happened to you. It's easy to let pain become identity. When you've been hurt, when you've been betrayed, abandoned, overlooked, or broken, those moments can start to define how you see yourself. They become labels you wear silently, labels like unworthy, damaged, forgotten, not enough. You begin to believe that your story is nothing more than the wounds you carry. But what happened to you is something you experienced, not who you are. Your value is not determined by your history. Your identity is not tied to your trauma. You are not your failure. You are not your heartbreak. You are not your loss, your fear, or your past decisions. You are not the person someone else couldn't love. You are not the mistake someone else made against you. What happened may have shaped you, but it does not define you. There is something deeper, something eternal that cannot be erased by circumstance. The world may try to tell you otherwise. It may point to your scars and call them permanent. It may remind you of every moment you fell short. It may say you are broken beyond repair. But scars are not signs of defeat. They are proof of survival. They are evidence that you made it through. And making it through means you are stronger than what tried to break you. There is power in choosing to rise beyond the pain, not pretending it didn't happen, not denying the weight of what you carried, but looking it in the face and saying, "This is part of my story, not the whole of it. There is still more being written." You are not stuck in the chapter where it all went wrong. You are allowed to grow, to heal, to move forward without shame. You are not defined by the people who couldn't see your worth. You are not bound to the decisions you made in desperation. You are not limited by the environment you came from or the wounds you didn't ask for. Inside you is a spirit that cannot be touched by those things. It may have been bruised. It may have been tired, but it is still alive, still sacred, still powerful. Sometimes healing begins with simply telling yourself the true thing, that you are more than what hurt you, that you are still here, still breathing, still full of purpose. Your story is not over because of what was done to you. In fact, your story might just be beginning. What was meant to destroy you can become the very thing that fuels your purpose. What was meant to silence you can give you a voice of empathy, wisdom, and strength that others need to hear. You don't have to carry the weight of old names. You don't have to keep proving your worth to people who never understood it. You don't have to shrink yourself to fit into old definitions. You are not who you were in your worst moment. You are not the version of yourself that only knew pain. You are not the echo of someone else's choices. You are becoming. You are unfolding. You are rising into someone who knows the value of healing, the strength in softness, the courage in continuing. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, hope over despair, faith over fear, you reclaim your identity from the grip of the past. The truth is, your worth was never based on how others treated you. It was never based on what you lost or what went wrong. Your worth is rooted in something unshakable. And no matter what has happened, no matter how deep the wounds, that worth remains. It waits patiently for you to recognize it again, to speak it over yourself, to walk in it with confidence. Rise even if your knees tremble. There are days when standing feels impossible. Days when everything inside you wants to lie down, give up, and disappear beneath the weight of life. The kind of days where courage feels far away and strength feels like a memory. When your heart is tired, your spirit is quiet, and hope seems like something that belongs to someone else. And yet, something inside you still whispers, "Rise." Not because everything is okay, not because the pain is gone, but because there is still something worth rising for. Rising doesn't always look brave. It doesn't always look strong. Sometimes it looks like taking one shaky breath. Sometimes it's opening your eyes when they're swollen from crying. Sometimes it's putting your feet on the ground when your soul still feels stuck. The act of rising isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up for life, even when life hasn't shown up the way you hoped. Trembling knees do not disqualify your strength. The fact that you're shaking means you're still standing. It means that fear hasn't won. That darkness didn't swallow you whole. There is something beautiful about fragile courage, the kind of courage that says, "I don't have all the answers, but I will not stay down. I don't feel ready, but I will still take the next step." That kind of bravery carries more power than all the noise in the world. Rising again is not weakness. It is sacred. It is the sound of resilience echoing through your life. It is the signal that something in you refuses to quit, that something in you still believes in the possibility of tomorrow, even if today is covered in clouds. And yes, your knees may tremble, but they are still capable of movement. They are still capable of carrying you into new places. Don't wait until you feel fearless. Fear does not mean failure. It means you are stepping into something that matters. The presence of fear only confirms that you are pushing past comfort and reaching for more. You don't need to wait until the shaking stops. Rise now. While it's still uncertain, while your heart is still learning how to trust again, while your soul is still trying to find its rhythm. Every time you rise, you defy the things that tried to break you. Every time you stand up, tired, discouraged, unsure, you declare that your story is not over, that your spirit still carries fire, that your voice still matters. Rising is not a one-time act. It is a daily choice, a rhythm of grace, a decision to begin again, even when you feel like you've failed. Let the trembling be part of the testimony. Let the weakness be part of the wonder. You don't have to have it all together. You don't have to be loud, bold, or certain. You only have to be willing to try again, to hope again, to believe even if it's just a little, even if it's just enough for today. There is something sacred in the simple act of standing back up, in deciding that you are not done, that there is still more in you, that there is a light you haven't seen yet, a door that hasn't opened yet, a version of yourself you haven't met yet. You are not here by accident. Your trembling rise still counts. It still carries weight. It still shifts something in the atmosphere around you. Let every shaky step be an act of faith. Let every trembling movement be a reminder that forward is still forward, no matter how small. Let yourself rise again and again, not because the storm has passed, but because something deeper in you knows you were made to keep going. Here is a powerful conclusion that ties together all 8 keynotes from your speech into a unified, emotionally uplifting message for your audience. You've walked through pain, felt forgotten, doubted your worth, and maybe even surrendered in silence. But hear this now, your story is not finished. Every storm, every delay, every tear-stained night has been part of the shaping. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are not your fear, your failure, or your past. You are becoming, you are in process. And that process is not punishment, it's preparation. The breath in your lungs is proof that your purpose still stands. Even when your knees tremble, rise. Even when the fire inside you flickers, protect it. Because heaven never agreed with your surrender, and neither should you. So walk on. Not because everything is perfect, but because you now know the truth. God is not finished with you yet. And that means the best is still being written. Keep going.